In this lecture, we'll be discussing about the functional safety life cycle, and to discuss the life cycle we will take reference to IEC 61508, and there is a different life cycle aspect for IEC 61511 also, which we will cover in a different lecture. So as you can see, this is the IEC 61508 life cycle. So it begins with the concept. Here, this is the concept. So concept means the what is your idea, what you are going to do. So that is basically defined in concept. Now, after the concept has been defined, we need to define the overall scope. So overall scope we need to define. When the overall scope and concept has been decided, we need to go with the hazard and risk analysis. So in the hazard and risk analysis, we identify what are the possible hazard and what are the risks associated with that. So now we know that what is the hazard with our present system, and we have also a baseline what level of protection or what level of risk reduction we want. So depending on these two, overall safety requirement has been decided. Now overall safety requirement then allocated to different sectors, like one of them can be through the electrical or electronic or programmable electronic devices, and there can be other methods of risk reduction also. So basically through hazard and risk you get to know what is your unmitigated risk, right? Because now this time you have not mitigated anything. Now this is your, and from that you get your overall safety requirement. Now when you get your overall safety requirement, you need to allocate you need to reduce that safety to a level which is acceptable. So basically you need to mitigate the risk through allocating the risk into different sectors. So one of them is this your electrical, electronic and PES system, and there can be other method of risk reduction also. Now now we have the specification or SRS to build our EPS system. Now we need to realize that. So this is our requirement and we have built something with the intention to meet that target. Now there will be installation and commissioning, then there will be overall safety validation to validate that whether the requirement has been fulfilled or not. Then again after installation it will go through the operation maintenance cycle, and after the end of the useful life it will be decommissioned or disposed of. So during the O&M cycle there can be some modification that may be required. So in case of modification it will again go through this step so that it can be again validated. So throughout this process there is another thing that you are seeing here, that is overall planning. So when the overall safety requirement is allocated, at the same time overall planning is done. Overall planning means there should be some planning how to install and commission, then how to do the safety validation and how to do O&M. So these plannings are also done at this stage. Now there are few more things that is going through the process, that is verification. Verification is checking whether you are doing something correctly or not, and it involves all the different steps, all the steps. So when we are preparing the concept, we will verify whether the concept is as per our requirement or not. When the overall scope is defined, we'll again verify it. So this every step will verification step will there. And also the documentation, because what is you are doing should be documented. Now there is another thing, that is functional safety assessment. So after this verification and validation, when the system is running or going through NM phase, so there is functional safety assessment is done, that is through independent person, to assess that we are doing the right job at the right time with the right procedure, tools, etc. And if you see, this whole thing should be managed, right? Because there are lots of activity, lots of different department, organization involved in this process. So somebody needs to manage the whole thing. Otherwise, uh, it will land up in a big mess. So this management thing is done by the functional safety management. There is some functional safety manager who sits in this group, and he manages all the action that has to be taken. He manages the roles and responsibilities that needs to be followed, and all the other aspect of the management. So this is a very high level picture or high level overview of the IEC 61508 functional safety life cycle. If you have any questions or doubt, you can write in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much.